Airpeace's audacious entry into the skies of London has caused many foreign airlines to crash their fares. Nigerian travelers say Airpeace's Lagos-London direct flights have won their hearts, and any reduction in the fares of other international airlines will not win them back. Our Rice correspondent Mary Chinde spoke to some international air travelers and reports.
March 30th has now defined a turning point for Nigeria's aviation. It was a day the local traveling populace heaved a sigh of relief as Nigeria's indigenous airline operator, Airpeace, started its direct flights from Lagos to London, pegging its price for a round-trip economy trip at 1.2 million naira on a route that foreign airlines had charged as much as 3 million naira to fly passengers on. Today, foreign airlines losing customers are cutting their airfares to an average of 1.4 million naira for a round-trip economy ticket. Experts and stakeholders say this hasn't come to them as a surprise.
I, as a Nigerian, I'm going for my own, which is Airpeace. I like that Airpeace stepped in, to crash the prices.
It's good for you to take Airpeace because one, it take you directly to Nigeria. Apart from you're not taking British Airways, because other airline you have to go through another country. You don't understand before you come in here. So it's a waste of time.
1,000 I will be following Airpeace to make sure that it is that's the Nigerian airline. And since Nigeria Airways stopped, we have not had any strong airline going out of Nigeria. Those ones that started crashed out. And I don't think that should happen to Airpeace.
We have to be wise in all of this, because why all of a sudden they saw the need of wanting to reduce air ticket prices.
A check on prices shows the return ticket from Lagos to London for Airpeace direct flight is at 1.3 million naira. Qatar Airways is at 1.2 million naira, while British Airways is at 1.8 million naira, and Virgin Atlantic is at 973,000 naira. Nigerians have continued to hail the crash in airfares, attributing it to Airpeace. These air travelers pledged their loyalty to using the indigenous brand over foreign airlines. This aviation experts attributes this to the strengthening of the naira, CBN's repatriation of dollars to foreign airlines, and increased competition among foreign airlines with the coming of local airline Airpeace.
These airlines, the question should be, why so sudden? If it is not about the naira to dollar rate, you can also link it to competition. Once before, there is this total control of the market, but now we have our own with pride. Whatever it is, we have to protect our own airlines. That is what, in fact, one of the main cardinals of the Honorable Minister is to ensure that the local airlines are supported to really thrive so that they can compete globally. Yes, whenever there is a strong competition in the market, it is the customers that benefit. What Nigerians are being skeptical about is, for how long? What if the big boys in the market, are just trying to frustrate Airpeace out? That is another ball game entirely different. And also the issue of repatriation. Federal government has made it clear that it has paid off all the debts or the stock funds with the CBN. So most of these airlines were able to repatriate their funds. So that free system has really helped significantly as we are today.
A round trip from Lagos to Toronto has also reasonably reduced by almost half the fares, as Air France now goes for 1.7 million naira. Delta Airlines now goes for 1.9 million naira. Ethiopian Airlines now goes for 2.1 million naira. And Lufthansa 2.2 million naira, with British Airways remaining at 2.2 million naira. Other routes experiencing reduced fares by almost half the old price include the trip from Lagos to New York, with Delta Airlines at 1.4 million, KLM at 1.5 million, British Airways at 2.1 million, and Lufthansa at 1.8 million naira. Checks today show that some other foreign airlines continue to slash their prices. Call it a price war, but for many travelers, it is a peaceful deal without breaking the bank. Mary Chinda, Arise News.
Well, we're not done yet with all of that. With me here in the studio is Professor Obiora Okonkwo, who's the spokesman of Airline Operators of Nigeria and the CEO of United Airlines. Also joining me from our Lagos studios is aviation consultant and former airline captain Samuel Akinyele Kolkrick. Well, gentlemen, good to see you both. Let's start with Professor Obiora, because we saw you in that inaugural flight, and many Nigerians before we get into what this is about, paint for us a picture of what members have done to achieve what many Nigerians are talking about at the moment. Professor Obiora.
Thank you very much. Yet, it's no more news that I was on the inaugural flight of Airpeace to London, but what I know you might be interested to know is how I feel. I feel vindicated because in this studio and in many other TV stations, in some of my previous outings, some of them with you, I had said many times the Nigerian operators can do it and even do it better. And I had also said that if Nigerian operators get into the fold, it must definitely affect the cost of airfare, which we believe that Nigerians have been paying too much. So that flight that day was not a peace flight. It was my flight. It was the whole Nigerian operators' flight. It was Nigerian citizens' flight to London. So we were very, very delighted. Kudos to my brother and great ally, Alan Onyema. I know a lot of people have been excited about that, but I can tell you that if you know as much as I know, and as much as other people in the industry know, what it has taken this audacious, courageous man to get into this at this stage, you would even appreciate that 10 times more, because not only overcoming the aeropolitics, not only overcoming the clear strategic sabotage that was going on and is continuing going on, but offering himself also as a sacrifice for the entire operators. Don't get it wrong. We've had other Nigerian operators fly to UK, New York, and other places until there was this break. And then this break came with a new dimension and so many other things. So this new lease is commendable. And I have no doubt that it's just the beginning of many more routes for Airpeace and also flights by many other Nigerian operators to come, including United Nigeria. So we are really delighted. It's worthy of all the celebration. I am glad that I was on the flight, and I'm sure Nigerians can agree with me and with other commentators who have been commenting on this and crying for this to happen. And I thank all those who really supported Airpeace the last minute to make this happen. The current Minister of Aviation, the current NCA leadership, and all that.
Definitely, thanks. I'm sure the list is endless. I'll come back to you because I'm more excited because it looks like a continuation of our conversation right here in the studios, so that we can talk about how this can be expanded. Let's bring in Captain Kolkrick. Captain Kolkrick, when we have a consultant and someone who's been there up in the skies for uncountable hours, it becomes more interesting and meaningful to also put meaning to all of this. Now, paint for us a picture of what this price war is about. Professor Okonkwo said, well, if you knew what he knows, then you appreciate it more. He calls it aeropolitics. Is there truly a kind of politics in the air business?
Very much so. Thank you for inviting me here. Very much so. They have a weapon that, unfortunately, operating from an emerging market, we don't have, which they've started using against us, and that is access to capital. It's unfortunate that in this part of the world, the cost of capital is very, very high. We all know that aviation is highly capital intensive. The professor will be able to tell you because he's there going through, they're all struggling because aviation is not like any other industry. The regulation is there. And it's very expensive, because if an equipment is there, the manufacturer is designed it to last for, let's say, 6 years. You have to send in regularly for recalibration. Their workers, that is the aviators, they have to be recalibrated. The pilots do that every 6 months. They all cost money. So capital is very important. So that's the only weapon they have against us. We have the nationality, we have the patriotism to support Airpeace, but the governments, the banking industry, the financial system, they have to come in. We all have to sit down how to introduce or access, or for the industry to access low cost of capital, because anything above a single digit is going to be a struggle for aviation to survive.
Captain Colcrick, I will come back to you so that we can talk about some of the solutions to some of the key things you just highlighted. Let me come back to Professor Obiora. He said you understand, because it looks to me as when he says we can do it, the we here is the Nigerian operators.
Oh, yes.
That's your members.
Oh, yes.
When we say we can do it, well, it took us long before we got here, and he spoke about to funding. But all of a sudden, the so-called weak naira, the so-called non-availability of the dollar is giving the other operators, international operators, a rethink to the extent that their prices are going down. You might want to explain to us what exactly this is about. I see
yes.
you have a smile on your face. It's almost difficult to understand. So what suddenly happened?
It is very clear. I don't want Nigerians to misunderstand price war with clear conspiracy to take a piece out of the market. Yes, they have made adjustments to the price. I see some of those prices as predatory prices. Predatory prices are prices that they conspired to come down lower than Airpeace or close to Airpeace to make sure they also move back passengers on their flight. Nigeria is a huge country, large population. Airpeace, even if they fly 5 times to London a day, they can't carry all the passengers going to London. So that would have been enough consolation for those people to stay where they are if they mean well. But this is predatory pricing. It's not a price war. And how it works is this. They will lower their price. They have a longer staying power, because British Airways can easily write $15 million of loss to keep Airpeace out of this market.
And they'll still be okay.
And they will not even give a hit, because they can go and get 500 or 1 billion euro loan from British Bank at 0% or 1%. So what it means is that Airpeace will be flying, loses money for 1 month, 6 months, obviously has its obligations to the bank at 30%. EFCC will be knocking on his door, and he will be out of the market. Then when Airpeace goes out of the market, or United Nigeria, who is definitely joining soon, then they go back to their old prices. So what I am calling on Nigeria government is to watch out, because in international business, that is what is called antitrust. Antitrust is that when you have deployed certain strategies to undermine competitive capacity of your competitor, this is what is going on. They should be called to questioning. If you can suddenly draw from 3 million, 4 million to 1.2 million, great news. Nigerians are rejoicing over it. But behind it, there are some element of economic sabotage. So I've said that when we are battling on Nigerian Air, when those guys had asked for some conditions to enable them price us out of the market. So all that glitter is not gold. So what I'm trying, Nigerian government should be up and doing. We have the government agency that should be able to interrogate this. They should be called to, and because if you do that in the US, in the Western world, they should call you for questioning. What is just going on is that they want Airpeace and prospective Nigerian operator to go out of business. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is not in good faith as far as I am concerned. So what we need to do is that I'm calling on the government. They must have to protect our national interest. So listen to me. The aviation sector contributes 3.5 trillion US dollars to the world GDP. 3.5 trillion. They support employment of about 90 million people worldwide. So what it means, as is usually said, if aviation were supposed to be a country with the volume of the GDP 3.53 billion, they should be the 17th biggest economy in the world. So the question Nigerian government should ask ourselves is, what percentage of this are we benefiting? The only way we can benefit it is that if you have our own operators. The criteria to make this successful is to have the population and have vibrant mobile people who are ready to travel with a strong economy. Come to think of it, the desire of every government is to create jobs, create economic growth, open up some sectors, make life meaningful to people, and so on and so forth. These are all the things the aviation sector can bring into the place.
And I'd like us to start talking about the solutions, but I'll come back to you, Professor Okonkwo. Let's start with Captain Corcoran. You started off by pointing to some of the key pressing demands that the operators go through. As an expert and a consultant, what more can the government do? I'd like to ask this question of both of you, but with you, Captain Corcoran, first. Is one enough? Because now we're talking about Airpeace. How long can Airpeace, do this in the face of what it's dealing with from other operators outside Nigeria?
Airpeace has started. We can say that Airpeace time has come. We want you to stay. United, I'm sure, is planning the same thing. There was a time he said he wanted to start the Houston route. We pray that it succeeds. But you see, my concern, like I started, is that the government, for the solution, the immediate solution to me is that I think the Nigerian Airlines, particularly Airpeace at this point, can write to the government, through the minister, stating exactly what the professor just said. This unfair competition. And the government could use that at least to start discounting Airpeace's charges, or probably the airline charges, as an incentive, something to boost, to be able to make them more competitive with these other airlines who are trying to drive Airpeace out of the market. And we have to start bringing down the cost of capital, particularly for aviation. I know there was a time there was government intervention, everybody got their fingers burnt, but then the fear is something. The only thing we should fear is fear. So we can always go back, redesign this, and using the lessons of the past to make sure it doesn't fail the next time. So I think the first thing is for Airpeace to write to the government through the ministry, stating all these things. To start making it official. And let's see what the government can do to fight this antitrust that these guys are deploying against Airpeace.
Okay, Captain Colcrick, now Professor Okonkwo, I recall then, I read in the news, and interestingly, talking about the Houston route he spoke about, I saw, well, one of Arise news analysts in Houston speak to you, Ejike Okpa, when United was there. Now, one is not enough, certainly not enough. So other members, what are they doing to ensure that they get to the government and see what kind of assistance they can get from the government to get on this? Because this is just to the UK. Yes. Nigerians live across the world.
Yes, one is not enough, really. The market is huge and can accommodate a lot more. Like I've said, we are really in the move, and I hope we will we'll get there quickly soon. But they're even already fighting us in the United States before we get there. Like we had designation to the US. We had applied for certification of the FAA, and the FAA had gotten back to us to say, we have issue to clear with United Airlines. They're complaining you have some similarity in the name. I'm like, what do I have to do with this? I am a Nigerian company registered in CSC and with trademark in my hands. So what has that got to do with me going there? They come in different ways and a different pattern. As a matter of fact, this matter is in court now. So these are ways they want to put a stumbling block, before.
In court in the US or in court
it's here.
In Nigeria?
Yes. Okay. So I agree with what Captain said. So these are the kind of things we go through. So at every stage, we need government support and backing to protect the national interest. But in this case, I don't support a system that will bring subsidy from government for Airpeace ticket. Government should prosecute those companies that it's a criminal act to be engaged in an antitrust. They can institute suit against them here in Nigeria and suit in their different countries because it's a world over criminal activity. So they don't need to subsidize we don't need any subsidy from the government. We can do what we need to do. So they need to investigate this money, they need to be interrogated and establish the antitrust component of these price differentials and then prosecute them. When you do that, they don't want to face that. They will pull back and then do what they need to do. So I really believe that it is also time. As much as I commend the CBN, the current leadership of CBN for clearing some outstandings, that's great. But we pray they will never come back with the system of this forward allocation because I've never seen that happening anywhere. All we need with government is policy.
Now, what are the policies that you would say with this government that has helped make this a reality?
Policy is that there are certain policy approach with the banking system that government can institute. Government will not put money, government will not lose money. If you now go by saying you have a single-digit loan window for the aviation sector because it's special, it's essential, it's critical, government is not going to put money. The whole process of getting the loan will go through the normal due diligence and all that. Now, part of the problem we're suffering here is that if you're an aviator, and we want to access government loan to buy aircraft. That aircraft, that equipment is not enough as a collateral for you to access the loan. They will ask you to go and bring your mother and your father to put in the vote of the bank. And in addition also, they want you to go and look for business that is giving all that money. How are you going to do that? It doesn't happen in any part of the world. And besides, we have a very peculiar situation today. Some people are giving interpretation of CBN guideline the way it is very dangerous for the industry. We have some allocations from CBN that has been there for 2 years in all these settlements and clearing that is going on. A couple of millions of dollars. Then they come to us. We are sending an invoice, various invoices from different vendors. For instance, we are buying engines from Rolls-Royce. We are buying some components or spare parts from Embraer, which is OEM. Now you send it to our bank. Our bank said they're not going to be able to make payment to this OEM and Rolls-Royce because we need to provide AMO. AMO is Aircraft Maintenance Organization Certification. Now I have my aircraft ERJ in Morocco going through C-check. Morocco doesn't produce engine, the MRO doesn't produce engine, They don't produce components of ERJ that comes from Embraer. So now I have to get invoices from these vendors to procure these items and then send to Morocco. So if I get these invoices from this vendor, my bank is telling me to produce AMO certificate for them to be eligible to transfer. So now, because we are going front and back, so these people don't provide this, it doesn't apply, they return the money to the CBN. So how are we going to survive in this? So I'm talking about policy, and this policy will be such that will open up huge capital access for the operators, so that we'll be able to get the right equipment to apply these routes. We can do it. I flew with Airpeace. I've flown around the world. We can do it. We've done that in the past. Now, some people will refer to those that started and failed. Come on, give me a break. Sula, you know, all over the world, many airlines have collapsed. Sabina is not there anymore. Italia is not there anymore. Suiza is not there anymore. How are we going? And other businesses collapse. Banks, oil companies. Why are we going to continue to dwell on the issue of few Nigerian airlines that are not doing well?
In the face
all over the world,
in the face of those that are doing well. Yeah. Let me bring in Captain Corcoran to give us his closing statement. Captain, you know, speaking of maintenance, which you highlighted earlier on, you've flown in many skies across the world. Let us in on the possibility of us having some of these companies come here in Nigeria and do the technical maintenance. How possible is that?
You mean the MRO, the maintenance, repair, and overhaul? Yeah, why not? It has to do with having access to me. I always go back to the capital. I think will make people like the prof not be able to compete to that level that he aspires to is capital. Because if, let's say Delta made a lot of money, they just released their financial about 2 days ago. Delta made a lot of money from the MRO, because they are in charge of their own maintenance. From cargo. But they had in that statement, they had about 13.8% of return on invested capital, and their weighted average cost of capital for that segment was only 7.2. So it boils to having access to low capital, no matter how savvy you think you are, because there are a lot of uncertainties in aviation really, and to be able to compete globally. Within ourselves is okay because we are all exposed to the same cost of capital. But when you start competing with people who have access to lower cost of capital, it's a different level, in my own opinion. So for the MRO, it is very, very important because that takes about 26% of whatever of the airline cost. If fuel is about 30%, Airpeace is very smart. Going into partnership with North Airways now, so that the fuel aspect of it is very competitive because they are deploying the Boeing 787, which has about the same efficiency as what the other competitors use, the A350. So it has to do about cost cut, being efficient in costing, being efficient in almost every aspect. And MRO is one of those that we really need.
Okay, I think it's a fine place for us to leave it, but if I can do this in 10 seconds, Professor Okonkwo, let us in. Are we seeing United Airlines in the skies of the United States this year?
Yes, definitely. But let me comment on one time. I'm just looking at 3 of us on the screen.
Yes, let's make it short, quickly.
We all have white beer, all of us. So I don't know if that means anything. Captain, can you see what I'm seeing? 3 of us. Well, definitely.
It's a weekend job. I like that. I like that. It's a fine place. But again, I wanted to hear from him quickly. Yeah. How soon are we seeing United Airlines?
We are ready to go yesterday.
Oh, great.
But it will be as soon as we get the right backing from the government, the policy permit, and then we can withstand the obstacles that are definitely out there down the road. So that's what I may have to add.
Well, it's a fine place for us to leave it from all silver foxes on television tonight. Many thanks, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, and of course, Captain Akinyele Corcrick. Many thanks for speaking with us here on Newsnight.